Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab.
Welcome, great to be here.
Today, we're diving deep into something we all do, probably every day, maybe without even giving it much thought. Talking. But not just any kind of talk. We're exploring the really interesting, sometimes kind of subtle, but actually hugely significant differences between two ways we connect. Small talk and, well, deep talk.
That's right. Yeah, think of this as looking into your own conversational habits, your own sort of toolkit. Our goal is to really unpack what makes small talk feel small and deep talk feel deep.
Right.
And maybe why you naturally prefer one over the other, or, how understanding both can genuinely boost your communication skills and ultimately your relationships. We've pulled together different viewpoints on this.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? So let's just ask you, the listener, directly. Which style feels more natural to you? More comfortable, small talk, deep talk?
And maybe why does that even matter? When you're just navigating daily life, bumping into someone or trying to build something, well, lasting.
Yeah, why care?
Oh, it matters quite a bit, actually. And to really get why, we probably need to define what we're talking about. So small talk, it's usually that first step, right? That light, often spontaneous chat that kind of eases you into interacting with someone. Think of it like a friendly nod, maybe, or a quick handshake in conversation form.
Like talking about the weather, obviously, or how busy a place is.
Exactly.
Those neutral, pretty low-stakes topics, there's not much emotional risk, is there? Because we're not really revealing anything personal, and it's usually pretty quick, just based on the situation.
Yeah, waiting for the bus. You mentioned it's late. Simple as that.
Done.
But it has a really vital social function. It's like social lubricant. It makes things smoother.
Right.
It builds that tiny initial bit of rapport, fills those sometimes awkward silences, and it basically signals, hey, I'm friendly, I'm approachable. Some people even see it as kind of ritual, a way we acknowledge each other and sort of confirm basic social rules without needing some big, profound connection.
A classic example. You're in line at the supermarket, right? Someone sighs and says, wow, these lines are long today.
Yeah.
And you might just chuckle and go, tell me about it. Must be a Tuesday. That little moment, that shared observation, it creates a tiny, fleeting connection.
No big secrets exchanged.
Nope, just social ease, getting along.
Okay, now let's flip completely to the other end. Deep talk. This is where the conversation goes, well, way beyond the surface stuff.
Yeah.
It's more of a deliberate dive into someone's inner world, their emotions, their thoughts.
The topics just change completely, don't they? Suddenly you're talking about big dreams or real fears, core beliefs, what you value in life, maybe significant experiences you've had.
And it demands way more emotional investment. Vulnerability is kind of the key here.
Right.
You're choosing to share things that actually matter to you deeply. And, well, that takes a bit of courage.
It definitely takes more time, too. This isn't a quick back and forth. Deep talk can unfold over, several minutes, even hours sometimes.
Requires real focus, real presence from both people. And the whole point is different. It's driven by connection. It's aiming to build real intimacy, foster genuine empathy, maybe even support personal growth through that shared understanding.
Think about two friends on a long road trip. They might chat about random stuff for a while, the music, the scenery.
Yeah, the usual.
But then maybe as it gets darker, the mood shifts. One friend might kind of tentatively say, I've been feeling really unsure about my career path lately. And the other friend doesn't just brush it off. They lean in, they listen properly, and maybe they share something back. Like, oh, wow, I felt exactly like that before. What specifically is making you feel that way?
That right there, that willingness to reveal something and the matching willingness to really listen and engage with that vulnerability, that's the heart of deep talk.
Yeah.
It's reflective, it makes you feel heard, validated, and it seriously strengthens the bond. There's even research showing that structured personal sharing can make people feel closer, sometimes surprisingly fast.
So if you put them side by side, the contrast is pretty clear. Small talk, surface, deep talk, personal.
Low emotional risk versus high risk.
Short duration versus potentially long.
Rapport versus intimacy.
Casual settings versus maybe more private, focused ones.
The outcome is social ease for small talk, but a potentially deep bond for deep talk.
And let's be real, small talk takes minimal effort, right? Deep talk can actually be quite draining.
Definitely. And understanding that difference is key because the choice between them isn't like random. It's often this dynamic thing based on the situation, who you're with, how comfortable you feel, and what you're actually hoping to get out of the chat.
Right, and your personality plays a part, your mood.
Even your cultural background. All these things influence which style feels easier or more natural for you.
It's interesting, too. These aren't exactly new ideas, are they? These styles have really deep historical roots. Small talk, in some way, shape, or form, has been like social glue for ages.
Oh, absolutely. Think about, I don't know, medieval folks greeting each other, asking about the harvest. Or 18th century salons. They mixed light, witty chat about news or fashion with potentially deeper discussions.
Yeah, and literature's full of it. Like Jane Austen's characters in Pride and Prejudice, they navigate those balls and social events with all this polite small talk about, the weather or who danced with whom. But that often just sets the stage, right? It's the necessary step before the real feelings and deeper stuff comes out later. It's the way in.
And deep talk. That goes way back too. Think of ancient philosophy. Socrates in Greece, Plato wrote it down, right? He used all that persistent questioning, asking, what is justice? Or what is courage?
Right, not just for facts.
No, exactly. It was to challenge assumptions, make people think, really dig into big ideas. And you see similar things in Eastern traditions, lots of reflective conversation about ethics, wisdom, life.
So these ways of talking are just woven into how humans have always connected, which brings us back to today and to us. What makes you, our listener, prefer one over the other? There are several factors, aren't there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Personality is a massive one. If you lean more towards extroversion, you might genuinely get energy from lots of brief, varied interactions.
Like Priya, maybe she's a marketing exec, she goes to conferences, loves chatting with lots of different people, finds it energizing, good for networking, easy small talk.
Right. But for someone more introverted, that same scenario, all that small talk, can feel really draining. They often prefer fewer connections, but ones that are more meaningful.
So maybe James, a graphic designer, office chit-chat might tire him out, but get him one-on-one talking about his creative ideas or life philosophy, and he just lights up.
Exactly. And then you've got ambiverts who are more flexible. They adapt. Maybe Sarah, a teacher. She uses easy small talk with parents for quick updates, builds that rapport. But then she relies on deeper conversations with her close colleagues to really process the tough stuff, the complexities of the job.
And research backs this up, right? Studies show introverts tend to get more satisfaction from deeper conversations. Extroverts, they can enjoy both, often liking group small talk, but also really valuing those deep one-on-one chats.
Yeah, picture a company retreat. The extrovert might jump into a big group talking sports, easy. The introvert might look for a quiet corner to have a real conversation with one person about their career goals.
Makes sense. And then there's just how you're feeling at the moment and the situation you're in. That hugely shapes your choice too.
Totally. If you're stressed, tired, overwhelmed, small talk is often the default, isn't it? Just requires less brain power, less emotional effort.
Like Emma, a nurse finishing a really long shift. She might just want a quick, light chat with a colleague about a new coffee place nearby. Nothing heavy.
Please, nothing heavy. But flip that if you're feeling a real need for connection, maybe during a tough time. Deep talk becomes almost essential.
Right. Like Michael. Maybe he's worried about a family member's health. He needs to talk about his fears with his sister, and that shared vulnerability brings comfort, strength.
And the setting itself dictates a lot. A job interview, mostly small talk, professional rapport, dinner with your best friend. That's prime time for deep conversation.
Or a high school reunion. You might do loops of quick, hey, how are you? Small talk with tons of people you barely recall.
Yeah.
But then you find your old best friend, and suddenly you're hours deep into catching up on everything real.
Culture also plays a huge, often unseen role in this. In what some researchers call high-context cultures, think places like Japan or India, there's often a bigger emphasis on building trust through maybe more extended small talk first. Indirectness is valued.
Like in Japan, those pleasantries about the season, the weather, they're not just filler, they're about establishing harmony before getting down to business, right?
Precisely. Whereas in low-context cultures, say Germany or the US, there can be more of a tendency towards directness, maybe less need for that prolonged warm-up before getting to the main point.
It links to broader cultural values too, maybe. Collectivist societies like China might use small talk to keep group harmony, avoid rocking the boat.
While individualistic societies, like the US, might see deep talk as really important for self-expression, for showing who you are.
You could see someone like Priya, maybe with roots in both Indian and American cultures, noticing these differences. How her family might get into deeper, value-based conversations more quickly than, say, her American colleagues who might start meetings with weekend chat.
It's fascinating, and it even seems to connect to our brains. There was a study, I think in 2021, suggesting deep conversations actually light up the reward centers, dopamine release, especially when you feel genuinely understood.
Wow, so it actually feels good neurologically to connect deeply.
It seems so. Small talk, on the other hand, while maybe less intense reward-wise, is still crucial. It engages the prefrontal cortex more for that quick social processing, helps you navigate those brief encounters efficiently without burning too much emotional energy.
So Aisha has a deep chat with her mentor about her future feels super rewarding, clarifying.
But then her quick small talk with the cashier while buying groceries. It's fleeting, but it still provides that little hit of social connection, low effort.
And we absolutely have to mention technology here, how it's reshaping things.
Oh yeah, social media, texting, it often encourages really quick, brief exchanges, doesn't it? Almost like small talk snippets, a quick comment, a like, a tweet.
Conversational snacking, you could call it. But then technology can also enable deep talk, especially for people who find face-to-face hard or who are geographically separated.
Right. Video calls allow for that FaceTime, for deeper discussions, and online communities around shared niche interests. You can find incredibly deep, thoughtful conversations happening there, even just through text.
Totally. So John might be on, say, X, firing off quick comments about a movie, very small talk like.
Yeah.
But later, he joins his Zoom book club, and they have this really rich, deep discussion about the book's themes and how it connects to their own lives. Big difference. So you see, it's not just random which one we prefer or use. It's this complex mix of personality, our needs at the moment, culture, maybe even brain chemistry, and the tools we're using.
And both styles, importantly, have their good points and their downsides.
Okay, so small talk. Great for that initial rapport building, right? It's low effort, super versatile, works almost anywhere, and can actually make you feel less anxious in new social spots because you have a kind of script.
Definitely. But the downside, it can feel superficial, shallow, if that's all there ever is.
Yeah, repetitive too sometimes.
And it doesn't really build deep bonds unless you manage to transition to go somewhere else with it. Think of Emma at that networking event. She uses small talk well, meets lots of people, gets that initial contact. But if she never follows up or goes deeper, those connections probably won't amount to much.
Okay, then dig talk. The upside is huge, right? Fostering real intimacy, promoting personal growth because you're sharing insights, building serious empathy, creating connections that you actually remember.
Absolutely. The benefits are profound.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of emotional energy. It requires significant time. And there's real risk involved.
Yeah, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, you could get judged or rejected. It's scary.
It is. Think about Tom in a therapy session. He's engaging in deep talk about his deepest fears and gaining incredible insight. But it's exhausting, emotionally taxing. It takes effort and trust.
So the real goal isn't about choosing one and ditching the other. It's about getting skilled at both, right? Knowing when and how to use each one.
Exactly. It's about building that versatile toolkit. So how do we get better? For small talk, maybe focus on using open-ended questions, questions that need more than just a yes or no.
Right, like, what do you enjoy doing on a day like this, instead of just nice weather, huh?
Yeah. And look for common ground. Actively listen, show you're engaged with nods, eye contact, little follow-up questions, maybe even have a couple of go-to topics ready in your back pocket, travel, food, interesting local stuff.
And crucially, like you said, think about using it as a bridge. You find a shared interest, like hiking. You could say, oh, you mentioned hiking. Have you ever had one of those moments out in nature that just like really shifted your perspective on things? Boom, potential pivot to something deeper.
Nice example. Like John at a fundraiser, feeling a bit awkward. Instead of commenting on the canopies, he asks someone, what brought you out to support this cause tonight? Open-ended. It could lead to a chat about shared values, much richer than just...
And the cheese puffs.
Exactly.
Yes.
And for deep talk, being intentional is key. Choose the right setting. Quiet, private, fewer interruptions.
Yeah, definitely not in the middle of a busy office.
Right. And ask genuinely thought-provoking questions. Maybe even be brave enough to be vulnerable first. Sharing something personal kind of signals, hey, it's safe here.
That makes sense. It gives permission.
It does. And listen without jumping in to judge, even if you totally disagree. Just hear them out. And maybe follow up later on something they shared. Shows you're really listening, that you care.
Like Sarah, having that quiet dinner with a friend. She shares a struggle she's having. That creates the space for her friend to maybe share something too. That back and forth vulnerability builds trust.
That's the core of it. And these skills aren't just for personal life, they matter at work too. Small talk is essential for just, getting along day to day, building camaraderie, easing tension before a big meeting.
Maria, noticing a colleague's new desk plant and saying something nice before a team meeting, it just creates a little positive moment, sets a good tone.
Totally. And deep talk, while maybe less frequent and needing more care in a professional setting, is vital for things like mentorship, building real trust in a close team, strong manager relationships.
Like Alex sharing his actual career goals, maybe even his concerns, with his manager during a review. That honesty could lead to real guidance, a stronger bond built on actual trust.
So ultimately, it's about finding that balance, isn't it? Using the right approach for the right situation. Small talk shines in those brief, casual, or maybe more formal settings, building initial rapport, just being polite, friendly.
Yeah, keeping things light when needed.
Whereas deep talk, that's more for your closer relationships, when you're really aiming for mutual understanding, maybe growth, or just connecting in a private, focused way where vulnerability feels okay.
Like Lisa at that big family reunion. She uses small talk to navigate chatting with dozens of relatives she barely knows.
The quick catch-ups.
But then she finds her sister, and they go off somewhere quiet for a proper deep conversation about something important, like helping their parents. She's using both tools effectively for the context.
Perfect example. And what's really interesting is that some research suggests we might be holding ourselves back unnecessarily.
How so?
Well, studies indicate people often underestimate how much other people would actually enjoy having a deeper conversation. We tend to stick to small talk, maybe because we're afraid of it being awkward or afraid of rejection.
Just a safe route?
Exactly. But then, when people do actually engage in deeper conversations in these studies, they consistently report higher levels of satisfaction and connection afterwards.
Huh. So we might be missing out on better connections because we assume others don't want them, when maybe they actually do.
It seems that way sometimes. We default to the surface level out of caution, perhaps more often than we need to.
And our preferences can change over time too, right? It's not fixed.
Oh, definitely. You might see younger adults using more small talk as they explore lots of different social connections. Then maybe in midlife, there's often a stronger pull towards meaning, towards deeper conversations.
And older adults.
They might particularly value deep talk as a way to share wisdom, reflect on their life, connect on that legacy level. Think of me at 22. Maybe she loved the fast-paced banter at parties, but at 35, maybe she finds real fulfillment in those long, intimate dinners discussing life purpose and values with close friends. Priorities shift.
So wrapping all this up then, the main takeaway seems to be that small talk and deep talk aren't like enemies. They're not opposites fighting each other. They're actually complementary skills, different tools in the communication toolbox.
Yeah, different strokes for different folks in different situations. Small talk is maybe like the key that unlocks the door. It creates those little opportunities for connection in everyday life, smooth things over socially.
And deep talk, that's like the bridge you build once the door is open. It fosters intimacy, real understanding, personal growth. It creates those lasting bonds that really enrich our lives.
So understanding both, practicing both, that makes you a more confident communicator, doesn't it? More authentic, able to connect on different levels depending on what's needed.
Definitely.
So maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. How might deliberately choosing your conversational style, just for one interaction this week, change how it goes? Could you maybe spot an opportunity for a slightly deeper question than usual? Or maybe use some skillful small talk to make a potentially awkward moment feel easier? Perhaps just try looking for chances to consciously practice both.
That's a great challenge. And to continue exploring topics like this one and keep deepening your English learning journey with us.
Yeah.
Be sure to like this video, share it if you found it helpful, and definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hello. Welcome to the Learn English Lab. We are here for a deep dive today, and we're getting into something, well, deeply human, I think. It's our drive to change, to improve, reach those goals we set.
Absolutely. We all have these visions, right? Learn that skill, get healthier, finally start that big project. The intention's always there.
Oh yeah, strong intentions. But making those changes actually stick, that feels like where so many of us just hit a wall.
It really is a common struggle. We tend to rely on bursts of motivation or maybe sheer willpower, but honestly, those are pretty unreliable fuel sources.
They run out quick.
They do. They might get you off the starting line, but they rarely last for the long haul, the kind needed for, real transformation.
Right. So this deep dive, it isn't about finding quick fixes or those temporary motivation spikes. We're working from some really insightful material that's been provided, a kind of comprehensive blueprint, actually, for understanding the science, the psychology behind building habits that last.
Habits really are the engine for change, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the material gives us a clear framework. It takes us from the basic science all the way through to practical step-by-step strategies. It really shows how we can get more intentional about shaping what we do every day.
So our mission here is to pull out the most powerful insights from this blueprint. We want to give you the tools, straight from this material, to become, well, the architect of your own daily actions and, by extension, your future self.
Makes sense. Let's start at the bottom with the foundation.
Okay.
Where do we begin?
Well, the foundation really starts with understanding the science. Like, what is a habit, scientifically speaking? You can think of your brain as a super efficient machine. It's always looking for shortcuts, ways to save energy.
Okay, efficiency.
Yeah. So when you repeat an action over and over, your brain literally creates like a neural pathway. It's like forging a trail in a forest. The more you use it, the clearer and easier it gets.
Until you can walk it without really thinking.
Exactly. That automatic path is the habit. Your brain's automating things to save energy. Right, okay. And this leads us to the core model for understanding this whole process, the habit loop. It's a framework that's been really influential, and the material breaks it down nicely. It shows how any habit, good or bad, follows this kind of 4-stage cycle.
It does, and that cycle always kicks off with
the cue, the trigger, right? The signal that basically tells your brain, okay, run that automatic program now. Could be a time of day, a place, an emotion.
Or even something you just finished doing, or being around certain people. Loads of things can be cues.
Like the alarm clock buzzing.
Or walking into the kitchen, feeling stressed, finishing dinner. Those are all classic cues. They start the loop.
Okay, so the cue happens, and that leads straight into the craving. Now, this was a really key point in the material for me. The craving isn't usually for the action itself.
No, not usually.
It's for the feeling or the change in state that action promises. It's the motivation underneath.
That's it, exactly. You might not crave, say, getting on the exercise bike, but you crave the feeling of energy or accomplishment you get afterwards.
Or you don't crave checking your email necessarily.
Right, but you might crave the feeling of being caught up. Or maybe just relief from that little ping of anxiety about what might be waiting there.
Yeah.
Or maybe just distraction from boredom.
Okay. Cue triggers a craving for a feeling. Then comes the response. That's the actual habit, the behavior.
The thing you actually do. Lacing up your running shoes, opening the social media app, grabbing that snack, starting to write. That's the response.
And then to close the loop and tell the brain, hey, this was useful, remember this, there's the reward. The positive bit that satisfies the craving you started with.
Yeah, the payoff. The endorphin rush from exercise, the satisfaction of a clean kitchen, the momentary hit of entertainment from scrolling, the relief from stress. That reward reinforces the whole thing, strengthening that neural path between the cue and the response.
Let's walk through an example from the material, like a common bad habit. You feel bored at your desk. Maybe that's the cue. You crave some stimulation, a quick escape, the craving.
So your response is to pick up your phone, open Instagram or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And the reward, that brief hit of distraction, seeing something new, it satisfies the craving for stimulation momentarily.
And the brain learns. Feeling bored. Social media helps. Loop reinforced. Now flip it to a good habit. Cue. You get home from work. Craving. You want to de-stress, feel productive maybe.
Response. You change into workout clothes immediately and do a quick workout. Reward. You feel energized, less stressed, accomplished.
And the brain learns. Getting home, working out helps de-stress.
Understanding this loop is, well, it's where the power lies. It shows you the leverage points. You can mess with any of these 4 stages to change a habit.
That's the key, isn't it? Knowing where to push or pull.
Definitely. So maybe a good first step for you listening is to think about one habit you want to build and maybe one you want to break. Can you actually map it out? What's the cue? What's the real craving underneath? What's the response? And what's the reward you get?
Just doing that awareness can be surprisingly powerful.
Yeah, it really can. Okay, so we've got the science, the habit loop. How do we actually use that? How do we start building the good habits and dismantling the bad ones? This blueprint offers a really practical toolkit, often called the 4 laws of behavior change.
Yeah, and the core idea is wonderfully simple. For good habits, you want to make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Make it easy to do the good stuff.
Right. And for bad habits, you just flip it. Make them invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
Okay, that gives us a clear roadmap. Let's unpack these laws one by one with the strategies the material suggests.
Sounds good. Law number 1, make it obvious. This targets the cue stage of the loop. And the big idea here is that your environment, your physical surroundings is like this invisible hand guiding your actions constantly.
We don't even notice it half the time, but it's huge.
It really is. It's shouting cues at us. So a key strategy is designing your environment on purpose. Make the cues for your good habits super visible, easy to see, impossible to miss. And the cues for bad habits, hide them. Make them invisible.
Like the example of Sarah the trainer telling people to lay out their workout clothes the night before.
Exactly. You wake up, bam, there they are. Obvious cue. Or Maria, the manager, putting a book on her bedside table instead of her phone. The book becomes the easy, obvious thing to reach for.
It's like how supermarkets put candy right at the checkout, isn't it? Making the cue unavoidable. So for bad habits, you do the reverse.
Right. Charge your phone in another room, not your bedroom. Hide the remote if you watch too much TV. Unsubscribe from those tempting email lists. There's even a strategy mentioned called the ice block method for credit cards.
Freezing it. Seriously.
Yeah. To stop impulse buys online, adds massive friction, makes the cue, your say's card details, way less obvious and accessible. Or to setting up like phone-free zones in your house.
Making the cue invisible in certain contexts.
Okay.
What else for making it obvious?
Another great one is habit stacking. It's quite elegant, really. You link a new habit you want to build directly onto an existing habit you already do automatically.
So the old habit becomes the cue for the new one.
Precisely. The formula is simple. After I current habit, I will new habit.
Okay.
So, remember John the engineer? He wanted to meditate. His solid existing habit was making morning coffee. So his stack became, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The coffee making became the trigger.
Or Sarah the student. After I finish lunch, I will study my language flashcards for 10 minutes. Lunch ending, choose the study.
Yeah, or after I brush my teeth, I will floss 1 tooth. Or after I use the restroom, I will drink a glass of water. You're weaving the new habit into the routine you already have.
Clever. And there's a third strategy.
Implementation intentions. This is about getting super specific with your plan. Not just, I'll exercise more, but I will behavior at time and location.
Like, I will do 20 push-ups at 7 a.m. in my living room.
Exactly. You pre-decide everything. The material highlights research showing that just making this specific plan dramatically increases your odds of actually doing it. It removes the should I, shouldn't I debate in the moment.
Takes the decision fatigue out of it. Like David the writer, who only got consistent when he decided, I will write for 30 minutes at 7 a.m. at my desk, not just write more.
Or, I will call my sister at 7:30 p.m. on Sundays while I'm washing the dishes. Specific time, specific place, linked action.
So maybe you listening could take a second. Look around your space. What cues could you add for a good habit? What could you remove for a bad one? And is there an existing habit you could stack a new one onto?
Good prompts. Okay, moving to Law 2. Make it attractive. This one zeroes in on the craving stage. We're wired to move towards pleasure, towards things that feel good, or promise satisfaction.
So we need to make the habits we want feel more appealing, or link them to things we already like.
Exactly. The main strategy here is called temptation bundling. You pair something you need to do with something you want to do.
Like rewarding yourself during the task.
Pretty much. It makes the need to thing more attractive because it comes packaged with the want to do thing. Remember Sarah the student and the treadmill?
Yeah, she only watched Netflix while on the treadmill.
Right. So suddenly the treadmill wasn't just exercise, it was Netflix time. Something she actually looked forward to. Or maybe you only listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing chores.
Or enjoy that really nice healthy smoothie only after you finish a study session. Bundling the temptation.
Another big one for attractiveness is joining a culture where your desired habit is just the normal thing to do. Social influence is incredibly powerful.
Surrounding yourself with people who are already doing what you want to do.
Yeah. Want to make running attractive? Join a running club. Find a gym buddy. The material mentioned Mark, who moved to a new city and found joining a hiking group made being active way easier and more fun. It became social. expected.
Accountability groups, masterminds, support groups like AA, they all leverage this principle, don't they?
They absolutely do. When your tribe values and practices a habit, it becomes much more attractive to you too.
And the third strategy under attractive is about mindset.
Reframing your mindset, yes. It's about consciously shifting your focus from the difficulty or the have-to aspect of a habit to the benefits, the get-to aspect.
Instead of, oh, I have to go to the gym.
Reframe it as, I get to build strength and feel more energetic today. Or the morning advantage idea, not, I have to wake up early, but I get this quiet, focused time before the day gets crazy.
It's shifting from feeling restricted, I can't spend that money, to feeling empowered. I am building financial security.
Or seeing something like public speaking not as terrifying, but as an opportunity to share something valuable. It changes the feeling, the craving associated with it.
So you might think, how could I bundle a want with a need? Is there a group I could join? How can I reframe this habit to focus on the benefits I get?
Good questions to ask.
Okay.
Law 3, make it easy. This targets the actual doing of the habit, the core idea. We naturally follow the path of least resistance. So make good habits incredibly easy to do. Reduce the friction.
Remove the obstacles between you and the action, like prepping healthy meals on Sunday so weeknight dinners are just heating things up. That mise en place chef trick.
Exactly. Keep your water bottle filled and right beside you. Lay out your vitamins with your breakfast stuff, anything that reduces the number of steps required.
And for bad habits, you do the opposite. Increase the friction, make them harder to do.
Right. Delete saved credit card details from websites. Unplug the game console and put the cords in a drawer after playing. Use app blockers that make you wait or enter a long password. Those extra steps can derail the automatic impulse.
And a really powerful tactic here is the 2-minute rule.
Oh, this one's brilliant. You scale down any new habit so that the very first step takes less than 2 minutes.
So the goal isn't the big outcome right away, it's just starting, mastering the art of showing up.
Precisely. If your goal is read more,
Yeah.
your 2-minute habit is read 1 page. If it's run 5K, it's put on my running shoes. If it's write a novel, it's write 1 sentence.
Just get over that initial hump.
Yeah. Once you've started, inertia is overcome. You've shown up, and often you'll naturally continue for longer. But the win is just starting.
Makes sense. What else makes things easy?
Automation. Taking the decision-making and willpower out of it completely where you can.
Like setting up automatic transfers to your savings account the day you get paid.
Perfect example. Or automatic bill payments. Setting up recurring investments, you leverage things like dollar cost averaging without even thinking about it each month. Using a pill organizer for the week. You set up the system once, then it runs itself.
Less effort day to day.
Much less. And closely related is priming the environment. Setting things up beforehand to make the next intended action smooth and easy.
Like laying out your gym clothes and packing your bag the night before.
Exactly. Or setting up breakfast bowls and ingredients before bed. Cleaning the kitchen right after dinner so you wake up to a clear space, which makes a calm morning routine easier. You're setting your future self up for success.
So you could do a quick friction audit. For a good habit, where can I remove steps? For a bad habit, where can I add steps? And how can I apply that 2-minute rule to just get started on something tough?
Excellent. Which brings us to the final law, Law 4. Make it satisfying. This closes the loop. The reward tells your brain, that was good, let's do it again. It reinforces the habit. And the crucial insight here, satisfaction needs to be immediate.
Right, our brains love instant gratification. Waiting weeks for results doesn't reinforce the daily action very well.
Not nearly as well. So you need to find ways to feel good about the habit right away. Instead of just saving money and seeing the balance creep up slowly, maybe you immediately transfer the 5 pounds you didn't spend on coffee into a separate fund account. You see the reward instantly.
Or focusing on the immediate fresh feeling after you floss, not just the long-term gum health.
Or the jolt of alertness after a cold shower. Or using a language app that gives you points or badges right after you complete a lesson. That immediate feedback is satisfying.
Tracking your habits is another way to get immediate satisfaction, isn't it?
Huge. Seeing that visual progress, using a habit tracker app or just putting an X on a calendar, that don't break the chain idea associated with Jerry Seinfeld.
Right.
Watching the chain grow is immediately satisfying.
You get a little dopamine hit just from checking the box, tallying pages read, seeing your meditation minutes accumulate on an app, filling up a journal. It makes progress tangible now.
You can also give yourself small but immediate guilt-free rewards. Key is guilt-free and immediate.
What kind of things?
Maybe after you hit a writing deadline, you allow yourself 10 minutes of guilt-free web browsing, cooked healthy meals all week. Maybe you treat yourself to a fancy coffee on Saturday morning or buy that new cookbook you wanted. It needs to feel like a genuine reward tied closely to the habit.
But it shouldn't undermine the habit itself, right? Like rewarding exercise with a giant cake.
Exactly.
Hey.
Needs to align. And finally, accountability partners work partly because they provide immediate social consequences, either positive or negative.
Knowing someone's waiting for you at the gym makes the reward of not letting them down or the punishment of feeling guilty very immediate.
Right. Or making a public commitment. The fear of public failure is a strong, immediate motivator. Having a coach check in provided that regular, immediate feedback loop.
So think about it. What small, immediate, guilt-free reward could you tie to your target habit? What's a super simple way you could start tracking it today?
Okay, so we have the 4 laws for getting habits started, but keeping them going long-term through boredom, challenges, life getting in the way, that requires going a bit deeper.
Right, because motivation fades, things change. The blueprint covers strategies for really mastering habits, doesn't it?
It does. And one of the most profound shifts it talks about is moving towards identity-based habits.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means shifting your focus from the outcome you want, like lose 20 pounds, or even the process, go to the gym 3 times a week, to the person you want to become.
So it's about who you are, not just what you do.
Precisely. When your habits are aligned with your desired identity, I am a healthy person, I am a writer, I am someone who keeps their commitments, then doing the habit feels like just being yourself. It's not a struggle against who you are, it's an affirmation of it.
How do you cultivate that?
You first decide the type of person you want to be, get specific, not I want to write, but I am a writer. Then, every single time you perform the related habit, no matter how small, you see it as casting a vote for that identity.
So lacing up your running shoes, even for a short walk, is a vote for I am a runner.
Writing just one sentence is a vote for I am a writer. Getting up when the alarm goes off is a vote for I am a disciplined person. These small wins build belief in that new identity over time.
That's powerful. What else helps with long-term consistency?
The Goldilocks rule. This is about staying motivated by making sure your habits are operating at the right level of difficulty.
Not too hard, not too easy, but just right. Like the porridge.
Exactly. Tasks that are slightly challenging keep us engaged. Too easy, we get bored. Too hard, we get discouraged and quit.
So you need to keep adjusting the difficulty.
Yeah, you need to escalate gradually. When you start running, you add a bit more distance or speed over time. Learning guitar, you move from simple chords to more complex songs.
But what happens when it does get easy? When you hit a plateau?
That's crucial. You have to beware of the plateau. Once a habit feels automatic and maybe a bit boring, you need to introduce a new, slightly harder challenge to stay in that optimal Goldilocks zone. Add more weight, learn a new technique, try a different variation. It's like progressive overload in weightlifting. Keep it challenging, but manageable.
So you could maybe map out a rough 3-month progression for a new habit. How will you make it slightly harder each week or month?
Good idea. The material also draws a really important line between motivation and discipline.
It's the motivation trap. Feeling like you need to want to do it.
Right. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline is about showing up and doing the work, regardless of how you feel. Discipline is built through reliable systems, not fleeting feelings.
Professionals don't wait for motivation, do they? They have routines, systems.
Exactly. They rely on their commitment, their process. So the advice is, focus on building effective systems, not just chasing goals.
What's the difference?
A goal is the target, like running a marathon or writing a bestseller. A system is the repeatable process you follow that increases your odds of hitting the goal, like your weekly training schedule or your daily writing routine. You focus on executing the system. The goal often takes care of itself if the system is good.
So build the system, trust the system.
And build a habit of just starting. We talked about the 2-minute rule. Overcoming that initial inertia is often the biggest battle. Sometimes just counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and launching into action for 5 minutes is enough to break through resistance.
And accept that it won't always be exciting.
Embrace the boredom. Mastery requires practice, and practice is often repetitive, sometimes tedious. Showing up consistently, even when it's not fun, is what builds discipline and leads to results.
Okay, so define the system for your most important goal. What's the daily or weekly process?
And then, inevitably, setbacks happen. You'll miss a day. Life throws curveballs.
Yeah, perfection is impossible. So how do you handle that?
The material is really clear on this. Success isn't about never stumbling. It's about how quickly you get back on track.
Okay.
The key rule is never miss twice. One missed workout. It happens. Get back to it the next day. 2 missed workouts in a row. That's the beginning of a new unwanted habit, making your absolute priority to avoid that second consecutive miss.
1 slip is an outlier, 2 is a pattern.
You got it. And related to this, have a plan for when things do go wrong. Use if-then planning for likely obstacles.
Like, if I have to travel for work and can't get to a gym, then I will do a 20-minute bodyweight workout in my hotel room.
Perfect. Or, if I get sick and can't focus on writing my usual 1,000 words, then I will write just 100 words to maintain the habit. Having a backup plan ready makes you much more resilient.
And forgive yourself, right? Don't beat yourself up.
Absolutely. See setbacks as data, not failures.
Yeah.
Okay, I skipped meditation. Why? What can I adjust? No big deal. Back to it tomorrow. Self-compassion is key.
Maybe do a pre-mortem. Imagine failing 6 months from now, what likely caused it. Then make an if-then plan for that specific scenario now.
That's a great proactive strategy. Finally, for long-term mastery, the blueprint stresses the need for ongoing habit audits and reviews. This isn't a set it and forget it thing.
You need to check in regularly.
Yeah, schedule a weekly habit review.
Yeah.
Just 10-15 minutes. Look back. What went well? Where did I stick to my plan? What didn't go well? Why not? What small tweaks can I make to my system or environment for next week? Are these habits still serving the identity I want to build?
Like a freelancer reviewing their week, seeing they missed their outreach goal because of distraction, and deciding to use a website blocker next week.
Exactly. And maybe once a year, do an annual identity review. Step back. Who do I want to be in this next chapter? Are my current core habits still aligned with that vision? Do I need to add new ones, or maybe let go of some old ones that no longer serve me?
So action item. Schedule that weekly review in your calendar right now. Make it real.
Definitely. Even with all this, there are still common traps people fall into.
Yeah, the material flags a few key pitfalls to watch out for, like the all or nothing trap.
Ah, yes. Thinking, I missed my workout today, so the whole week is ruined. Might as well give up.
The solution. Embrace imperfection. Remember the 2-minute rule. Consistency beats intensity. Doing something is always better than doing nothing.
Another pitfall. Ignoring the why. Losing touch with your deeper reason for building the habit in the first place.
So you need to reconnect with that purpose. Visualize the benefits, maybe write it down.
Yes, keep the motivation anchored. Also, trying to tackle too many habits at once.
Spreading yourself too thin.
Exactly. Focus on just 1, maybe 2 or 3 keystone habits first. Get those solid before adding more.
Not planning for setbacks, we covered that, but it's a big one. Assume things will go wrong and have your recovery plan ready. Never miss twice.
Underestimating the power of the environment. Still thinking you can just willpower your way through bad surroundings.
Optimize your space. Willpower is limited, environment is persistent.
Confusing motion with action. Spending ages reading about fitness, but never actually exercising. Planning endlessly, but not starting.
Prioritize doing even small actions. Start.
And finally, lack of patience. Expect results too soon, getting discouraged when transformation doesn't happen overnight.
Remember the compound effect. Small, consistent efforts add up hugely over time. Celebrate the small wins. Trust the process. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Well said. Okay, we've journeyed through the science, the 4 laws, the mastery strategies, the pitfalls. Let's pull it all together into a clear, actionable blueprint that you can use based directly on the material.
Okay, the step-by-step plan. Step 1. Identify your keystone habits. What are the 1 to 3 habits that would have the biggest positive ripple effect in your life?
Action. List those 1-3 habits right now.
Step 2. Define your desired identity. For each of those keystone habits, write down the identity you are reinforcing. I am a person who exercises regularly. I am a lifelong learner.
Action. Write down those identity statements.
Step 3. Apply the 4 laws checklist. Go through each keystone habit. How will you make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, the reward satisfying?
Action. Fill out this plan. What specific strategies, habit stacks, temptation bundles, 2-minute rules, trackers will you implement for each law, for each habit? Get detail.
Step 4. Plan for setbacks. For each habit, identify the most likely obstacle and create your specific if-then recovery plan.
Action. Write down those recovery plans.
Step 5. Schedule your reviews. Put your weekly habit review and your annual identity review into your calendar as recurring appointments.
Action. Block out that time right now. Treat it seriously.
And step 6. Just start and be patient. This is maybe the most critical part. Don't get stuck in planning paralysis. Pick one thing, apply the laws as best you can, and begin today.
Start small.
Right.
Stay consistent. Trust that compound effect. Those tiny improvements day after day, they seem insignificant at first, but they build exponentially. That's where the real transformation happens.
So when you boil it all down, the power to change, to really transform yourself, it doesn't come from those occasional heroic efforts, does it?
Not really. It comes from the quiet accumulation of small, consistent choices day in, day out.
Choosing to put on the shoes, choosing to read one page, choosing to prep your lunch the night before. These tiny decisions, they're the votes you cast for the person you're becoming.
And this blueprint, this material we've explored, it gives you the understanding and the practical tools to make those choices consciously, to stop being pushed around by circumstance and start being the architect of your habits and therefore your future.
So take this blueprint, activate it, embrace the process, know that there will be bumps, but keep getting back on track. The power is in starting and starting again. The transformation really does begin with that very next small choice.
We really hope this deep dive has given you some concrete tools and maybe some renewed motivation to build the habits that matter to you.
The material for this deep dive was prepared by Learn English Lab. If you found this conversation useful, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel for more content like this.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today, we're diving deep into something that, well, it shapes pretty much every moment of your life. We're talking about the psychology behind all those choices you make every single day.
From the really small stuff, like, what you grab for breakfast, right up to those huge life decisions, there's this whole hidden world influencing what you do next.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because we often think, oh, I'm making a rational choice here.
We do. We like to think we're in complete control, very logical, but the science really paints a richer picture. It's much more complex. So this deep dive, it's about pulling back that curtain, looking at the hidden forces, biases, emotions, social cues, even your environment. They all guide your decisions.
Okay, let's get into it. Our mission here is to really understand what's happening under the surface. We want to draw on these insights so you can see your own decision-making more clearly.
Absolutely. Because if you understand these influences better, you can be more intentional. Make choices that really matter to you.
So where do we start this exploration?
Let's start with the brain itself, that incredible machine in your head. Psychologists, well, they often talk about decision-making using a model with two systems. Daniel Kahneman famously explored this.
Ah, right, I've heard of this. The fast system and the slow system.
That's the one. System one is the fast one. Think of it as your brain's autopilot.
Autopilot, okay.
It's super quick, works automatically, relies on intuition and these mental shortcuts, we call them heuristics. System one is what lets you instantly know a friend's face or, swerve the car without conscious thought. It handles routine things very efficiently, saves mental energy.
Right, gets the job done quickly. So system two, that must be the deliberate one, the manual control.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. System two is slower. It's analytical, it takes conscious effort. This is the system you use when you're really thinking, hard tackling a math problem, comparing mortgage rates, weighing different job offers. It needs focus. It takes energy.
So it sounds like system one is doing most of the legwork day to day.
It is. It frees up system two for the bigger, more complex stuff. That's the evolutionary advantage, really. System one is efficient.
But there's a catch.
There is. Because it's fast and uses shortcuts, system one is, well, it's more prone to errors. It can fall into traps, these cognitive biases.
Errors from the shortcuts. Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, a common one is the availability heuristic. System one estimates how likely something is based on how easily an example comes to mind. So if you see a lot of news coverage about something dramatic, maybe a plane crash,
right.
System one makes that event feel much more common than it actually is, statistically speaking. Flying might suddenly feel really risky because those vivid images are so readily available in your mind.
Ah, so what pops into your head easily isn't always the most accurate picture of reality.
Precisely. Or take your morning coffee, you reach for the same mug, same blend, don't even think about it.
Yep, pure autopilot.
That's system one efficiency. But maybe one day you pause, you think, should I try that new pour-over method? Or is this fancy coffee really worth it every day?
Okay, I see.
That's system two kicking in. You're consciously overriding the automatic habit, analyzing. This back and forth happens all the time, often totally unnoticed.
Understood. So the brain's shortcuts are useful, but they can lead us astray sometimes. Which brings us neatly to those cognitive biases you mentioned. Systematic thinking errors.
That's right. They're predictable patterns where our thinking deviates from pure logic. Consistent ways our minds mess up, you could say. And they really sway our choices.
Confirmation bias must be a big one, especially now. That's where you kind of seek out stuff that confirms what you already think.
Spot on. With so much information flying around, our system one just naturally looks for things that fit our existing beliefs. It's easier. So when you're researching something online, maybe a product, maybe a political issue, you'll unconsciously click on links or read reviews that support your initial leaning.
You don't even realize you're doing it half the time.
Not usually, no. Yeah. But it just reinforces your perspective, makes it harder to see other viewpoints. It's like selective vision.
Okay, what's another powerful one?
The anchoring effect. This one's fascinating. The very first piece of information you get, especially if it's a number, acts like an anchor.
An anchor.
Yeah, it heavily influences any later judgments or decisions, even if that first number isn't all that relevant.
How does that work in practice? Like in shopping?
Oh, definitely. Imagine seeing a shirt priced at, say, $500. Your first thought is probably, wow, that's way too much.
Right.
But then right next to it, there's a similar shirt for $100. Suddenly, compared to that $500 anchor, the $100 seems reasonable, maybe even a bargain.
Even if objectively, maybe it's only worth $50.
Exactly. Retailers are masters at this. They'll show a high original price next to the sale price. That high anchor makes the discount seem much bigger and more attractive.
Sneaky. Okay, what about loss aversion? Sounds like we hate losing things.
We really, really do. Psychologically, the pain of a loss feels much stronger than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. It's a powerful motivator. It's often why people stick with things that aren't great. Maybe a phone plan they don't love or holding on to stocks that are dropping. The thought of losing something by switching or selling feels worse than the potential gain from making a change.
I can definitely relate to that hesitation, even if something new might be better. What about having too many options? Sometimes that feels paralyzing.
It absolutely can be. That's choice overload. It sounds counterintuitive, like more choice should be good, right?
Yeah, it seems logical.
But studies show that if you give people too many options, they often just freeze. There's that famous jam experiment.
Oh, the jam with the different numbers of flavors.
That's the one. People are actually less likely to buy jam when faced with 24 varieties compared to when they only saw 6. Too many choices just overwhelm system 2. The effort of comparing them all becomes too much, and sometimes people just give up. Choose nothing.
Like scrolling endlessly through Netflix and then just watching nothing.
Precisely. Or staring at a huge menu and ordering the same thing you always get. Smart retailers know this, by the way. They use anchoring, yes, but they also carefully filter and categorize options online to reduce that feeling of overload. Makes it easier for you to click buy.
Just being aware of these biases seems like the first step, to pause and ask, wait, am I choosing this because it's good or because of how it's presented?
That awareness is crucial. Okay, so we've got the brain systems, we've got the biases, but decisions aren't just about cold logic, are they? Emotions must play a huge role.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it feels like they're the only thing playing a role.
They're definitely major players, often more than we admit. There's something called the affect heuristic. Basically, your feelings about something heavily influence your decisions related to it.
How does that work? Like if I'm in a good mood?
Yeah. So imagine you get an email about a potential new project. If you read it when you're feeling really upbeat and positive, maybe after some good news, you're likely to view that project more favorably.
Compared to reading the exact same email when I'm stressed or grumpy.
Exactly. Your emotional state colors your judgment. It acts like a quick filter.
So good moods might make you more adventurous. Bad moods more cautious.
Generally, yes. Feeling happy or excited might make you more open to taking a risk, like impulse buying those concert tickets. Negative emotions like fear or sadness can make you overly cautious, maybe pass up a good opportunity. Or they can lead to choices aimed purely at feeling better right now, like reaching for comfort food after a bad day.
Makes sense. What about that gut feeling people always talk about? Is that just emotion?
It's closely related. There's fascinating work by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio on what he calls the somatic marker hypothesis.
Somatic markers, okay.
It suggests these gut feelings aren't random. They're basically your brain's quick summary of past experiences and the emotions tied to them. Your body creates these subtle physical sensations, somatic markers that guide you, especially when things are complex and logic alone isn't enough.
So that impulse purchase again.
Yeah.
You see the shiny thing, you feel that rush of excitement.
That excitement. That's a somatic marker, signaling a potential reward. Your gut says, yes, go for it. It's a rapid System 1 thing.
Yeah.
But recognizing that feeling as an emotional trigger is powerful.
Yeah.
It gives you that crucial moment to maybe engage System 2, to pause, take a breath, and ask, do I really need this? Does it fit my budget? Before the automatic response takes over completely.
It's like there's this constant internal negotiation happening.
Pretty much. And just when you think it's complicated enough with your own brain and emotions, then you add other people into the mix.
Ah, yes. Social influences. We don't make decisions in a vacuum, do we?
Not at all. We're social creatures through and through. And how others act profoundly shapes our choices. One big one is social proof.
Is that like following the crowd? Seeing what others are doing?
Basically, yes. Especially when we're uncertain. If you see a restaurant packed with people, you assume it must be good, right?
Yeah, or if a product has thousands of 5-star reviews online.
Exactly. That popularity acts as proof. Whether it's a bestseller list, a trending hashtag, or just seeing your neighbors doing something, we look to others for cues on how to behave.
And that ties into conformity too, doesn't it? Wanting to fit in.
It does. Conformity is more about actively adjusting your behavior or choices to align with a group's norms or expectations. You want to belong, or at least not stick out negatively.
Like choosing an outfit for a party based on what you think everyone else will be wearing.
Perfect example. Or maybe adopting certain opinions because your friends hold them, then there's authority.
Trusting the experts.
Oh.
Or people who seem like experts.
Correct. We tend to give more weight to recommendations or decisions endorsed by people we see as having authority or expertise. Think doctor-recommended labels, celebrity endorsements, or even just taking the waiter's suggestion at a restaurant because they seem knowledgeable.
You really see all three when you go out to eat, don't you?
You do. You might check online reviews first. That's social proof. Then maybe pick a place your friends always rave about conformity. And finally, order the dish the waiter strongly recommends authority.
It's all happening at once.
It's a great little microcosm of how these social forces weave together. But it's not just people influencing us. The physical environment does too, in subtle ways.
Like you mentioned earlier, the layout of a store.
Exactly. This brings us to nudge theory, popularized by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. Nudges are these small changes in the choice architecture, basically. How options are presented that can steer your decisions without actually forbidding anything.
Okay, like default options. That sounds like a nudge.
It's a classic and incredibly powerful. We tend to just stick with whatever the default setting is. Think about organ donation.
Right.
In countries where being a donor is the default when you get your license, meaning you have to actively opt out, donation rates are massively higher than in places where you have to actively opt in. The default creates the path of least resistance.
That's huge. What about framing?
Yeah.
How you word things.
Also crucial. How information is framed dramatically changes how we perceive it. You're much more likely to buy ground beef labeled 90% lean than beef labeled 10% fat.
Even though it's the exact same product.
Identical information, totally different psychological impact. The positive frame just sounds better, feels healthier.
And priming. What's that about?
Priming is subtle. It's when being exposed to something, a word, an image, a smell, influences your response to something else later on, often without you even realizing it. Maybe seeing an ad for a fitness tracker subtly makes you more likely to take the stairs instead of the elevator later. Retailers use this all the time. Music, scents, displays, to prime you for certain moods or purchase types.
The grocery store example really hits home here. It feels like one giant nudge experiment.
It really is a masterclass. Products placed at eye level get more attention. Those end-of-aisle displays prime impulse buys. Sale signs create urgency. It's all designed to guide your choices, often tapping straight into that fast, automatic System 1.
So being mindful of those nudges helps you stick to your shopping list.
It helps you recognize when you're being gently pushed and allows you to make a more conscious choice. Okay, so we've covered a lot of decision points. But what about the things we do without deciding at all? Our habits.
Ah, yeah. So much of the day is just routine.
Exactly. Many, perhaps most, of our daily decisions aren't active choices, they're habits. As Charles Duhigg explained so well, habits are automatic loops. A cue triggers a routine, which leads to a reward. Brushing your teeth, the route you drive to work, how you react when your phone buzzes. Often these are just habits running on autopilot.
And that's efficient, right? Frees up brain power.
It absolutely does. System 1 handles the habit, freeing up System 2. But just like biases, habits aren't always helpful.
Like habitually grabbing a sugary snack when you feel stressed.
Perfect example. That might be an automatic routine triggered by the cue of stress, delivering the reward of temporary comfort, but it wasn't really a conscious decision aligned with your health goals.
So if you want to change a bad habit, how do you do it? You can't just stop, usually.
It's tough. The key is understanding that loop. Cue, routine, reward. You need to first identify all three parts. What's the cue? E.g., feeling bored mid-afternoon. What's the routine? E.g., scrolling social media. What's the real reward you're seeking? E.g., mental distraction, connection.
Why?
Then you keep the cue and the reward, but you consciously substitute a new routine. So when the cue hits, boredom, instead of the old routine, scrolling, you insert a new one, maybe stand up and stretch for 2 minutes. That ideally delivers a similar reward, mental break.
Replacing the middle part.
Exactly. It takes conscious effort. At first, you're using system 2 to override system 1, but with repetition, the new routine can become the new automatic habit. You essentially rewire the loop.
That whole process sounds like it requires a lot of self-awareness, bringing the unconscious into the light.
That's really the core of it all. Awareness is the foundation. Understanding your brain systems, knowing the common biases, tuning into your emotions, seeing social pressures, recognizing nudges, understanding your habits. It all empowers you.
It puts you back in the driver's seat, so to speak.
Exactly. You're in a much stronger position to make choices that genuinely reflect what you want and value.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what are some practical strategies, things listeners can actually do to make better decisions?
Great question. First, for anything important, deliberately pause and reflect. Force yourself out of system 1. Give system 2 a chance. Actually writing down pros and cons, options, consequences, it really helps.
Don't just react, analyze. Got it.
Second, actively challenge your biases. Ask yourself tough questions. Am I falling for confirmation bias here? Is that initial price anchoring my judgment? Be willing to question your own thinking.
Requires a bit of mental discipline.
It does. Third, try to manage your emotions when facing big choices. If you're feeling super stressed, angry, or even overly excited, maybe hit pause. Wait until you feel calmer and have more perspective before committing.
Step away from the heat of the moment. Makes sense.
Fourth, simplify choices when possible. If you're facing a million options, actively narrow them down first. Don't try to evaluate everything at once. Avoid that choice overload paralysis.
Limit the jam selection.
Right. Fifth, use nudges for good. Set up your own environment to support the choices you want to make. Keep healthy snacks visible and junk food hidden. Put your workout clothes out the night before. Use reminders. Make the good choice the easy choice.
Be your own choice architect.
You got it. And finally, number 6, seek diverse perspectives, especially for big decisions. Talk to people outside your usual bubble, people who think differently. It's a great way to counteract social proof and conformity and uncover potential blind spots.
Get outside your echo chamber.
Precisely. It just gives you a richer, broader view before you decide.
Wow. It really is amazing when you break it down. So many layers influencing every little thing we do.
It's incredibly complex, isn't it? This constant interplay between logic and shortcuts, feelings, other people, our surroundings. It's what makes us human.
And just knowing about it, having this awareness, feels like it gives you, well, more agency, more control.
It absolutely does. Understanding these hidden forces empowers you to move from just reacting to actually choosing more consciously.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. The next time you're about to make a choice, any choice, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, what's really driving this?
Is it that quick gut feeling? Is it what everyone else is doing? Is it how the options are framed? Shining that little light of awareness is the first step.
It lets you take the reins of your choices and ultimately your life. We really hope this deep dive gave you some useful things to think about. If you found it helpful, we'd love it if you could give this video a like, maybe share it with someone else you think would find it interesting.
And of course, subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel. We'll be back with more deep dives into fascinating topics just like this one.